أبو قيناتي مريحنا علينا إلنا خنزارب نخيل إذا نايدخل التعمد تمكرج نعاون يسدم من مليسة حسب خلّه دقاقي مخري خلّه أوش تدخل التعمد جن نايب حكي نعناون كجرمنا بزخيل من جدي حزب إرترا من تخبرته من تهاجروا من تلولونته مكيتو تعويتي موسى نعخدكم يقول.
Hope millions of billionaires. Economic indicators. Part 1. As a continuation of the articles I intend to release in various fields, starting today, I will be presenting articles related to the country's economy and the use of our resources, accompanied by various documents and indicators. Isaiah's hidden process, which has been hidden from the public for years, will be exposed with facts. In the 1994 Charter, the main idea regarding the economic plans of the future government of Eritrea was that the goal of our revolution is not only to bring about national independence, but also to create economic development based on social justice in an independent Eritrea. When implemented, the country will build an economic system that satisfies the needs of the majority, improves livelihoods, is equitably distributed throughout the country, operates under market rules, encourages private investment, initiative and competition, and ensures balanced economic growth. This means a socially just economic system in economic terms. In fact, the recovery of socio-economic devastation agenda should be the first priority of a country that has been at war for more than 30 years. Our people have also struggled for centuries to ensure economic democracy beyond freedom. Economic democracy, in short, means the development of the people, by the people, for the people. In light of these concepts of building an economic democracy with social justice, a practical examination of the 1994 Economic Charter reveals the extent to which the political abyss has prevailed in our economy. First, let us compare the promotion of economic and social justice that has not been implemented in the papers of the PFDJ with the actual economic situation in our country. Economic social justice means, between the rich and the poor, to narrow the gap in economic opportunities and wealth. It means ensuring equal economic opportunities for all citizens and a fair distribution of national resources. Economic social justice means any economic concept whose central goal is to meet the needs of the people and to ensure the equitable and fair distribution of economic development throughout the country in order to narrow the gap between rural and urban, central and peripheral areas. So when the PFDJ cadres say we will ensure economic social justice in Eritrea, they mean that we will ensure all these above-mentioned benefits in Eritrea. However, due to Isaiah's dictatorial behavior and corrupt rule, these benefits have not reached Eritreans in the past quarter of a century. Even if we as Eritreans do not set out to be a utopian society in Eritrea in terms of our history of colonialism and oppression, at least one free from disease and ignorance, leading a decent life, improving livelihoods, earning one's keep, and being honored for one's work. We should have had policies and leadership that would create a just society with a future. Otherwise, our citizens who have been displaced by the war will be able to count on another unsettled era when they are ripe. Therefore, the gap between aspiration and reality, which has been built backwards in the past quarter of a century, has widened to an alarming level due to the economic policies of the PFDJ regime. The role of the state in the national economy. If the government of any country has a holy purpose to create significant changes in the economy and improve the lives of its citizens, it must clarify its role. The role of the state in the economy is to create the conditions for economic development, formulate appropriate strategies and policies, awaken the human potential of the country, and ensure the rational use of the natural environment and resources. Accepting the role of the state does not mean accepting a state-dominated economy by all measures. However, in our country, the government's role in the economy over the past quarter of a century has been based on pure monopoly. After independence, the provisional government of Eritrea initiated that the economy of Eritrea should be a mixed economy consisting of public and private sectors, not a command economy, but a market economy. The concept of a market economy, which primarily allows the private sector to empower and play a leading role, also holds the government responsible for providing the right conditions. But in the 1990s, when the PFDJ emerged, it was difficult to understand the relationship and distinction between the party and the government, let alone the encouragement of the private sector. To justify this unfair domination, the PFDJ companies initially entered the market under the pretext of consolidating the assets of the EPLF under one umbrella, reorganizing and operating to make a reasonable profit and make a fundamental contribution to nation building. It has been punished under a dominant party. Most of the PFD's economic enterprises have invented joint venture names, but in practice, they are private companies owned by Isaias's loyal cronies. Aside from the countless small ones built around the country, the PFDJ is the only party and government involved in all forms of legal and illegal business, from coal sales to large national enterprises. It becomes clear to us, the provisional government of Eritrea, which has been in the grip of the country for a quarter of a century, has institutions owned by the sole party of the PFDJ. For example, construction companies, Sagan, Rodab, Gidam, Hanger, mineral water drilling, Asbico, JEDC, and almost all construction sectors in the country, including the construction of houses, cafeterias, dormitories, warehouses, offices, military bases, colleges, hangars, roads. Most of the companies involved in dams, brick and mortar supply, bridges, and agricultural works, as well as excavation and consolidation of fortifications, are owned by the PFDJ. Transportation companies. Land and sea transportation companies are also monopolized by the PFDJ. For example, all the ships and boats under the Eritrean Merchant Shipping Line and the various vehicles and machinery that have been imported in the name of government garages at various times, including Transhorn, a transport company that owns up to 350 trucks, are under the PFDJ. Financial, commercial, and service institutions. Even if we do not have the services we received during the quarter of the PFDJ rule, the available financial institutions are also owned by the PFDJ. From Amberbeb to Fenkel Garage, Era Akub, Hidri Shops Distributors, Ewan Company, Vehicle and Machinery Supply, Machinery Repair, Aerotech, Red Sea Commercial Corporation 9, Tax Free Zone, Aerosoc, Margarine, Saber Printing House, Nova Sasper, Housing and Commercial Bank, Himble Financial Services, Illegal Foreign Exchange Accumulation, Elaborate Farms, Dairy and Dairy Products, Alabu Agro Industries, Asmara Flour, Marijuana and Cannabis Agriculture and Cannabis Areas, Royal and Asmara Palace Hotels. Revenue from ports, hundreds of millions of foreign exchange revenue from the sale of the Assab port and the California Coalition is also deposited into the PFDJ bank accounts abroad. The money from the lease sale of Dalak to the Qatari government was also sent to the PFDJ by the Qatari government. From the sale of marine resources, fishing, harka, hydra, and fish nails is sent to the office of the president through call, Meleke Tesfamariam, son of Fatare. There are also times when the revenue from countless jails and prisons under various pretexts such as bail, extortion, intimidation, and extortion goes indirectly to the PFDJ. Revenue from various private institutions in the name of Berkey and foreign exchange and embassies and consulates in the name of Martyrs Relief Fund, from passport renewal and sale, child abduction, from the sale of identity and paper facilities, 2% and Rashida weapons sales, illegal financial services also have their day to the PFDJ. For example, up to 12 million rials a year have been sent from Saudi Arabia alone to a bank in Germany, opened in the name of Hagos Kisha by Segan Gebrahanas, a treasurer of the Jeddah consulate. Foreign exchange that has been going to NCB in Saudi Arabia has been changed to an account in a Dutch bank in the name of Yemeni Gebrab. Mining revenue. It is also owned by the PFDJ from mining companies, the Bisha and Zara gold mines in production, as well as gold mined from farmers by traditional mining and others. The PFDJ regime, which has completely seized the national revenue and resources, has been controlling every resource and its use by deploying highly sophisticated security and loyalty structures, exploiting our natural resources. The main billionaires who came with the hope of millions for a quarter of a century were Hagos Kisha and Yemene Gebriab, whom Isaias himself sacrificed. When many naive children see Isaias wearing poor pants and walking around in sandals, they think of him as a poor servant of the country who is governed by his salary. However, anyone who is well aware of Isaias's conspiracies from the field will not forget the shameful acts carried out in secret, let alone the maneuvers carried out outside. History shows that the Italian colonial regime, which we think only beautified Asmara, had 642 construction companies, 728 light industries, and 2,198 commercial enterprises. History does not deny that during the Ethiopian colonial period, Haile Selassie and Derg, they handed over a number of businesses and industries to us. After independence, Isaias, who was initially drunk on the achievements and wished to build an irregular economy by force, opened unwanted hostilities and wars against neighboring countries Yemen, Sudan, Djibouti, and Ethiopia. But as the country's economy continues to plunge into darkness, the PFDJ's revenues are dwindling. Isaias has turned country after country into military bases by building a huge military force and security institutions that are incomparable to our economy. In the years after 2000, when it was completely transformed into a dictatorship, it led to the establishment of the only African country with no national budget, no disclosure of government revenues and expenditures, no auditing and control, and no economic policy. There were also a few citizens who expressed their concerns about economic governance and its handling in the Isaias stage, where the sword is for those who believe and the sword for those who deny. Minister Berhane Abreha, who served as finance minister until 2014, was one of them. Some brave ones have also asked the people in various meetings equally, why are the revenues of gold, sea, and port rent not disclosed to the public? Despite raising challenging questions, the usual PFDJ response is, this is a question initiated by external forces to get BCO and is an unsubstantiated statement by anyone who has not succeeded or wants to monopolize as he pleases. The main reason for the recent protests in Daya al-Islamia was the economic domination introduced by the PFDJ in the name of Burki, which the PFDJ planned to implement under the guise of the Ministry of Education. Dear followers, in part 2 I will present you with facts and evidence related to the revenues of the Zara gold mine, bank account numbers, financial cycle of Zara revenues, foreigners linked to the PFDJ organizations, and useful attachments. I will also be posting updates on the current situation of the 29th round students. SACTISM, classified documents of the dwindling PFDJ.